What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Jonathan here. I was able to achieve financial freedom at 27, and this channel is all things about how you can do the same through real estate, passive income, side hustles, tools, VAs, technology hacks. And in this video, we are talking about all things Calendly, a scheduling tool that I use every day. It has changed the way we do business and set meetings with people for personal, for podcasting, for everything day to day, and we are going to go through that today. So if you haven't heard of Calendly, stay tuned and we will get into what that is. So have you ever been trying to schedule time with someone, you're going back and forth, either email or text, and you just can't pick a time, or the conversation goes dark, you're trying to figure out what works for them, they're trying to figure out what works for you, it just does not work effectively. So what Calendly does is kind of bridges that gap. Calendly is a scheduling software that plugs into your calendar, and all you have to do is basically set it and let the times kind of sort themselves out. So you send someone a link to your Calendly and it looks at your calendar and says what times you have open. Going one step further, you can set events or specific days that you want to have blocked off or keep available, and it will make sure that those are the days that it presents to the other person. And what's cool about it is even beyond that, you can put things like questions, availability, a location for the call, a reminder with text or email, all sorts of things that can kind of ensure you have better meetings and that people actually show up for meetings. So what we're going to do in this session is screen share how I set up a Calendly link and go through some of the meetings that I keep in there kind of on a weekly basis and how I just use it to be more effective and save time when scheduling people. So let's just jump right in. All right, so we are in Calendly now. One thing I do want to disclose or say beforehand is that there's a free version, which is perfectly fine for most people, and then there's a paid version that has a couple more bells and whistles, and that is how you'll probably see some of the things that I have. I started out with the free version. I recommend starting out with the free version. Then if you're not getting what you need to out of it, you can always upgrade to the paid version. Okay, so as you go in here, you'll see these are different event types that you can set up for meetings. So basically, these are just common meetings that I found myself having and wanted to make an event for. So things like general networking, launchpad discovery calls, that's for the mastermind group I do around real estate, general catch-ups, podcast systems university, that's for a podcast course we run on how to start a podcast, and then just different calls, Facebook and Instagram lives, all sorts of different calls that we were just finding pop up more than once, and having kind of a set schedule for different event types on different days made it more convenient. One other thing that I do and I recommend you guys doing is as you're planning out your week, try to figure out what days you want to be taking meetings versus not, or what days you want to be segmenting for certain types of activities. So something that I remember Noah Kagan talked a lot about was he only took meeting on certain days. And I kind of like that approach. So it changes from time to time. It's a good kind of time management strategy, or kind of depending on where you're at in the year or your life. But for me, I do all my podcasting on Thursday. I like to do my general networking on Tuesday and Fridays. And then usually Monday and Wednesdays are reserved for general work days that I'm not taking any meetings unless it's something I'm trying to schedule. And that just keeps me in balance to make sure that I'm staying on track, getting my most important work done, and making sure that I can kind of keep these in line with my everyday working calendar. So just to kind of knock one out and you guys can see how I set these up, I'm going to duplicate this tab and I'll set up a fresh one to show you guys some of the questions you can add or kind of bells and whistles to make it run a little bit more effectively. So if you're in Calendly, what you can do is hit create. And what I usually do with this is an event type, because I just don't want it to be a one-off thing. I want it to be something that I can use every day. It gives you a couple options here. So in most cases, it's going to be a one-to-one meeting. I don't really use this feature too often, but some people might. So I would hit create. I would say event type, test event. For me, what I like to do is actually do a custom location and then just write the word Zoom. I don't know why, but I've had problems when I try to lock in my Zoom link to their API. This just worked a little bit better. And then what I'll do here is I will put my Zoom link in the body, so it'll just show whenever the invite does get generated. I will hit next. And then here, what's cool, it's actually a lot better than it used to be. You can now preset some of the, or it has preset some of the times or days that you want to kind of have in here for people to set time with you. So what it has as a default is the working hours, Monday to Friday, weekends off. What you can do is set custom hours. So what I usually do, depending on what type of event it is I will go in and I'll set custom hours depending on what I'm actually trying to do for this thing. So if it's, let's say I only want to do meetings on Mondays, I would set it to 9 to 5 and save that. And from here you can also, or not from here, but within here you can also change the meeting length. So it could be a 30-minute meeting, 15, 60, 45, or you can set it custom. So what I do sometimes, I'll just do a 20-minute meeting just getting to know someone, or let's say it's a really quick thing, you could even do 15 minutes, works great. A lot of times 30-minute meetings are not necessary. So I try to never have 30-minute meetings if I even have any meetings, but some things require a little bit of face-to-face or just some like in-depth kind of back and forth question stuff. But in general, I'll also preface all this by saying most meetings are unnecessary. Sometimes, you have more questions or someone has questions for you and you need to build a little bit more rapport relationship. Great use of meetings, and you can kind of go through some like specifics or personal things, but in general, like I really try to have as few meetings as possible. The last thing here that is worth talking about is the date range. If you know you have a trip coming up, or you don't want someone to set time on your calendar because you don't know where you're going to be in the world, maybe in 3 months, you can set this so that it'll set a certain amount of days. It'll only show access to your calendar. So if I do 20 days out, 15-minute meetings, and only on Mondays, this should only show meetings available on my calendar for the next 3 weeks on Mondays for 15 minutes. If I set it for 60 days, it'll be longer than that. So it's worth noting that you can kind of tweak this and adjust the amount of time and day that you're going to set out there for people to book you. One last thing here, I actually don't really play around with this too much because I do like to time block, and I kind of accept that I'm just going to be on back-to-back calls. And it kind of actually helps make calls end when they should, because if you have extra time, I always find it's a lot harder to end a call, but if you have someone waiting in the Zoom, it's a lot easier to just say, hey, there's someone in the Zoom, maybe we can reconnect next week, but I actually have to jump off. If you leave a buffer time for yourself for like lunch, I actually find I never end up using it. I'll actually just kind of let calls run over. So I don't do this, and I just let people schedule back to back. It's kind of like a little personal trick that I use to just make sure that you can kind of get all your calls done in a row, and then you're good after that. So then what we would do is hit next. And this is an important one. It just depends on the purpose of the meeting and what you want to make sure you get out of it. It's a good way to collect contact information if you want it. You can get email, phone number. You can just basically add questions here and basically add whatever you want. But I've seen people put things for phone number, Instagram, email, and then basically it could just be, things like, what is the purpose of the meeting? What would you like me to prepare for the meeting? Do you have any specific questions beforehand? And you'll see this gets kind of put into the calendar invite, and it gets sent to you before the meeting actually happens. So you'll know a little bit more of the purpose of the meeting. This isn't going to be kind of all the bells and whistles. There are other ways you can kind of get some more features kind of like outlined, but this is just a good way to get started. I realize I'm saying bells and whistles a lot. I guess I haven't said that in a while, so we're getting it all out now. But anyway, that's kind of what I would think about for questions. I'll show you guys one example of like the discovery call that we'll do. That's 9 questions. So it's a lot more of, okay, are you ready for a group? Where are you at in your real estate journey? Things like that, just so I have a little bit more context when I speak to the person. But if it's a quick meeting that you're just trying to get connected with someone, it could just be as simple as, is there anything I need to do to prepare for this meeting? Or do you have any questions for me before the meeting? Stuff like that. All right, and this is, again, an important feature, but I wouldn't say necessary. It's just a matter of, how much detail you want to get into here. We'll probably do another video kind of going through more detail on how to make sure people show up for meetings, but I would recommend playing around with this. The notifications and cancel policy. You can send text reminders, email reminders. You can show a cancellation policy that if someone doesn't show, they can kind of be like responsible for something. But from a high level, this is just kind of all you need to get started. And from there, you're pretty much done. You could just hit back, and now we have a test event. And what's cool about it is, let's say you're going back and forth with someone on email, all you do is just hit copy. And if I wanted to send someone a text, I could basically just send them this link. This would pop up, and then it would show the times that I have available. So I think what we did was 15 minutes, 60 days out, and this is the location where the Zoom was, and that's pretty much it. So now you can either bookmark that or kind of keep it on a notes pad and just send it out to people as you need it. And it's an easy way to just schedule. One thing I would recommend doing is instead of just blasting it out, sometimes people will get a little, I don't know, they think you're trying to like big time them or something. It's just an effective thing, but sometimes what I'll say is, hey, do any of these times work for you? I've seen some people say like, hey, please book a time on my calendar, and some people get rubbed the wrong way. So the wording that I actually like to use with it is, hey, do any of these times work for you? They almost always will. If they don't, they'll let you know. They'll say it's booked or it's full. Do you have anything else? And then maybe you can get the time scheduled that way. But from a high level, that is kind of start to finish how I would set one of these up. I think it's extremely useful. And then you can play around with all the different event types that you would want, the different use cases for your situation, and just get more time scheduled in your calendar without actually wasting time going back and forth with people. So that is pretty much it, guys. It's a pretty short and sweet video, just something that actually Zach Harrith here with me recommended could be a good topic. We were just brainstorming on what would be a good video for today. And this is a video that is holding us up from going to the pool and hanging out in Austin for my last day here. So I will wrap up with that. I hope you guys are all doing awesome, find use in this video and get value out of it. If you have any questions or need any help with anything else, just let me know, drop a comment, or if you're in the Facebook group, feel free to just message me there. Have a great one. Talk to you guys soon. See ya. Bye.